The air still tasted of metal and smoke, though Captain Elias Vey had long since stopped trying to figure out how smoke even lingered in a place with no atmosphere. Something about burnt alloy and atmospheric leak combined into a flavor his tongue couldn't forget. His boots crunched over broken glass and fragments of carbonized hull, each step loud in the silence of the ruined colony. The HUD on his visor flickered, half its functions fried from static bursts still rippling across the planet's surface. He muttered into the emptiness, "Great, just great. They send me down here to look for survivors, and what do I get? A free buffet of radiation poisoning and tetanus. At this rate, I'll glow in the dark before I find anyone alive." The colony stretched before him like a corpse, skeletal towers bent at impossible angles, streets carved open by plasma fire. He passed a toppled vending machine half buried in rubble. Out of habit, he kicked it, and to his surprise a single can rattled free, rolling across the dust. He picked it up, stared at the label Grape Nutrient Hydrate Plus. He sighed. The galaxy burns and this garbage still survives. Figures. He almost dropped the can when the faintest sound cut through the hush. Not static, not falling debris. A voice. A child's. His visor triangulated, and his pulse quickened as he followed the echo into the hollowed shell of what had once been a school dome. The entrance sagged inward, doors blown apart, walls painted black with soot. Inside, shadows pressed close, the only light his wrist lamp throwing thin beams across shattered desks. Then he saw her. A small figure huddled near the back, cornered against a collapsed wall. Long silver hair tangled around her shoulders, catching light like strands of wire. And those ears, long, arched, unmistakably non-human, twitching as she sobbed. She wasn't alone. 3 hunter drones scuttled around her, metallic limbs clicking as they advanced. Their optics glowed a dull crimson, scanning her as though she were just another target. Elias ducked behind what remained of a desk, heart pounding. He whispered to himself, 3 drones, 1 half-broken rifle, and me. Perfect odds. If I die here, they better engrave Idiot Hero on my headstone. The girl whimpered, curling smaller against the rubble, her tiny hands clutching at nothing. The drones shifted, mechanical claws rising. Elias cursed under his breath. "All right, Vey, time to do something stupid." He leapt up, rifle blazing. Blue bolts ripped across the room, sparks flying as one drone crumpled under the assault. The others whirled, targeting systems locking onto him. "Hey, over here, you glorified can openers!" He shouted, sprinting to draw their fire away from her. Blaster rounds sliced through the air, one grazing his shoulder armor, sizzling. He nearly tripped over debris, muttering, "This is why they don't put this kind of thing in the recruitment ads. Rescue missions, 90% running, 10% screaming." He ducked behind a cracked support beam, popped out, and fired again. The second drone shrieked in digital protest before collapsing. The last one lunged with startling speed, claws snapping dangerously close to his chest plate. Elias barely managed to jam the barrel of his rifle upward and fire, searing through its head. The drone toppled, twitching. Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of sparking wires. Elias staggered, panting. "Well," he wheezed, "that went better than expected. Which is to say, I'm still alive. That's my definition of success these days." The girl hadn't moved, still trembling in the corner. Slowly, Elias slung his rifle over his shoulder and approached, raising his hands in what he hoped was a non-threatening gesture. "Hey, it's okay. They're gone. You're safe now." She peeked up at him, wide-eyed. Her irises gleamed a pale violet, alien and luminous, tracking him warily. He knelt, forcing a smile. "I know I don't look like much. Just a guy who forgot to shave for a week and smells like burnt wiring. But I'm not here to hurt you." He hesitated, then added with a grin, "And if I was, I'd have done a terrible job of it, considering I just got nearly ventilated on your behalf." Her lips trembled, but to his astonishment a tiny laugh slipped out between the sobs. "That's better," he said softly. "See, laughing's good. Way better than crying, trust me, I tried crying once. Didn't make the drones any less shooty. He extended his hand. After a long pause, she placed her small, delicate fingers into his gloved palm. He could feel the faint tremor of her body even through the armor. "Let's get you out of here," Elias said, lifting her gently. She clung to him instantly, arms wrapping tight around his neck, long ears brushing against his cheek. He glanced around the ruined dome one last time, muttering, "Command is never going to believe this. Rescue mission turns into babysitting duty. Next, they'll have me changing diapers on a star cruiser." Still, as he stepped back into the broken streets with the child in his arms, something in his chest felt lighter, steadier. He didn't know who she was, or why the drones had been after her, but one thing was clear. She was alive because of him. And for once, in a galaxy of endless war and ruin, that was enough. Elias trudged through the ruins with the girl in his arms, every step crunching over shattered glass and warped steel. The comm in his helmet buzzed occasionally, static drowning out most of Command's words. He smacked the side of his helmet like it was an old television. "Yeah, that's helpful. Nothing like an interstellar army that runs on the same tech as a toaster from the last century." The girl didn't speak. She held onto him tightly, her head buried against his shoulder, her long ears brushing against his armor every time he moved. He tried to lighten the mood. "You know, kid, you've got a good grip, stronger than some of the recruits I've trained. Maybe when you're older you'll get a uniform and outrank me. That wouldn't be too hard. Everyone outranks me eventually." He spotted a faint shimmer on the horizon, signal flares, someone calling for extraction. With a grunt, he shifted the girl's weight. "That's our way out. Unless, of course, it's another drone trap, in which case, you and I will be featured as smoldering decorations on the evening news. Let's hope for the first option, yeah." As they drew closer, figures emerged from the haze. Soldiers. No, not in human armor. Tall, slim silhouettes with long ears that mirrored the girls. Their weapons hummed with a low-energy thrum, sleek and elegant compared to his clunky blaster. He stopped in his tracks, instinctively gripping his rifle before realizing who they were. The girl lifted her head suddenly, eyes lighting up. She squirmed in his arms and called out something in a melodic tongue he didn't understand. The tallest figure stepped forward, and Elias got his first good look. She was regal in her bearing, her features sharp and graceful, with violet eyes that seemed to cut straight through him. Her armor shimmered like woven starlight, nothing like the dented scrap metal clinging to him. And those ears, longer, sharper, marking her unmistakably as kin to the girl. The woman's gaze shifted from her daughter to Elias. She raised a hand, and for one terrible second he thought she might shoot him. Instead, she spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "You saved her." Elias adjusted his grip on the girl, suddenly aware of how sweaty and battered he must look. He cleared his throat. "Yeah, well, she was about to be turned into scrap metal confetti by some drones. I figured I'd ruin their day instead. You're welcome." There was a silence. Her eyes narrowed, studying him like a curious specimen. He could almost hear the gears turning in her head, weighing him, judging. He panicked and blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "By the way, are those ears for decoration, or do you pick up satellite channels with them?" The other Illyrian stiffened, weapons raising slightly, but the woman's lips curved, just barely, into something like a laugh. The tension cracked, if only for a moment. She extended her arms, and the girl wriggled free of Elias to run to her. He watched as mother and daughter embraced, a warmth passing between them that even the ruins around them couldn't tarnish. Then the woman turned back to him. "I am Selhara. My daughter lives because of you. For that, you have my gratitude." Elias tried to bow, but it came out more like an awkward stumble. "Captain Elias Vey, at your service." Well, not at your service. More like nearby, sometimes helpful, frequently sarcastic. Gratitude accepted, by the way. Usually, I just get yelled at by my commander. Selhara tilted her head, clearly struggling to decide whether he was mocking her or if this was simply how humans communicated. Finally, she said, "You risked your life without knowing who she was. Why?" Elias shrugged. "Because she was a kid. Doesn't matter what species you are, kids shouldn't be cornered by murder bots. Call me sentimental." He paused, then added, "Besides, I've got a reputation for bad decisions. This one just happened to work out." The girl tugged at her mother's hand and pointed to Elias, saying something in her own language. Selhara's expression softened. "She says you are brave." Elias chuckled. "Brave, stupid, same thing most of the time." A sharp hum cut through the air. Above, a sleek ship descended, its hull glowing faintly as it hovered. Unlike the boxy dropships Elias knew, this vessel curved like a bird in flight, elegant and impossibly smooth. Selhara gestured. "Come with us, it is not safe for you here." Elias blinked. "Wait with you on that. You sure you don't mean I should wait here for my good old-fashioned human shuttle, with the rusty seats and the smell of recycled socks?" Selhara's mouth twitched again, almost a smile. "With us, your kind would not arrive in time." He sighed, glancing back at the ruined colony. Then he looked at the girl, now smiling faintly at him, her violet eyes brighter. "Fine, but if your ship doesn't serve decent coffee, I'm filing a complaint." The ramp lowered, light spilling onto the rubble. Elias followed them aboard, muttering to himself, "Great. First, I babysit an alien kid. Now I'm hitchhiking with space elves. Mom always said I'd never make friends in the galaxy. Guess I proved her wrong." The ship lifted off, the ruins shrinking beneath them. Elias slumped against the wall, realizing he had no idea what he just stepped into, but something told him it was going to be much bigger than babysitting duty. The ship hummed around him, alive in a way that human vessels never were. Panels pulsed faintly with light as if the craft breathed, and the air tasted clean, like a storm had just passed. Elias tried not to look impressed, but his eyes kept darting from one strange detail to another. No visible wires, no greasy conduits, no smell of engine oil. Just smooth surfaces that shifted subtly when touched, as though the ship adjusted itself to whoever walked inside it. He muttered under his breath, "Figures. My shuttle back home requires a good kick just to start the air recyclers. This thing probably makes you breakfast and tucks you in at night." Selhara led him through a curving corridor, her daughter at her side. The girl glanced back at Elias every few steps, as if checking that he was still there, still real. He gave her a wink. "Don't worry, kid. I'm not going anywhere until I figure out how to find the exit without getting lost. Pretty sure this hallway just looped twice." Selhara ignored his joke, or perhaps pretended to. She guided him into a chamber that opened like a sphere, walls glowing with a constellation of floating symbols. The images shifted, galaxies bending and reforming in three-dimensional patterns. Elias craned his neck, dazzled. And here I thought my commander's PowerPoints were confusing. At least his diagrams didn't make me feel like I was falling into a black hole. Selhara placed her hand against the wall. The glowing symbols rearranged into something comprehensible. Human language. Elias spread his hands. "To be fair, sir, it was a very long deployment and morale was low. Beer is important for morale." Several human officers groaned. The Illyrians, however, looked intrigued, whispering among themselves as though beer were some kind of mysterious cultural artifact. Selhara sat beside her daughter at the other end of the table, watching Elias with that same unreadable calm. He cleared his throat, trying to look more dignified. "Look, I didn't ask to be the galactic poster boy, but here we are. I saved a kid, and now apparently I'm the bridge between species. Lucky me. If it helps, I do look good on recruitment posters." Karos rubbed his temples. "This is a disaster." Elias leaned forward toward the hologram of a massive enemy fleet forming on the edges of known space. "Disaster? No, that's disaster. This is just me making everyone uncomfortable." The Illyrian diplomats tilted their heads in unison, as if trying to decode the rhythm of his speech. One finally spoke. "Your humor is unusual, but effective. You cut through tension like a blade. Blade, nah, Elias said. More like a rusty spoon. Still works, just not elegant. The little girl burst out laughing. Selhara's lips curved barely, but it was there, a ghost of a smile. Elias grinned back at her before realizing Kairos was staring at him like he wanted to throttle him. The holograms shifted again, showing starships in formation. Illyrian vessels were unlike anything the humans had fielded. Sleek, curved like crescent moons, powered by something the officers were whispering about as starlight engines. When the projections merged with blocky human dreadnoughts, the chamber filled with murmurs. The combined fleet was intimidating, terrifying even. Elias let out a low whistle. Well, that's one way to win a popularity contest. Nothing says, we're friends now, like pointing several thousand cannons in the same direction. Kairos scowled. We still don't know if they'll hold when the fighting starts. Selhara spoke for the first time, her voice cutting through the room like a calm bell. We will hold. He has shown us your kind values life over gain. That is enough. Everyone turned to stare at Elias again. He raised his hands. Don't look at me. I just tripped over some drones and accidentally became trustworthy. Happens to the best of us. The room erupted in overlapping arguments, strategy, logistics, chain of command. Elias leaned back, muttering to himself. Ah, yes, the sound of peace being negotiated. People yelling and pretending to understand charts. The girl wandered over to him during the chaos, tugging on his sleeve. She whispered something, eyes bright. Elias glanced down, pretending to understand. Yes, excellent point. I'll be sure to bring that up to the Admiralty. Oh, you mean snacks? Yeah, I'd prefer those too. Selhara rose and the chamber quieted instantly. Enough. We did not come to argue. We came because a human soldier gave us reason to hope. That reason is not found in your admiral's charts or in your statistics. It is found in action. The Illyrian fleet projections burned brighter, merging again with human forces. Elias stared at them, uneasy. He could feel the weight pressing down. This wasn't just about jokes anymore. The galaxy was shifting, and somehow his stupid act of heroism had shoved the pieces into motion. He forced a grin anyway. So what you're all saying is, we're about to enter the biggest, ugliest space brawl in history, and I get a front row seat. Fantastic. Somebody please tell me the Illyrians invented a way to serve popcorn in zero-G. A ripple of confusion ran through the aliens. Selhara tilted her head. Popcorn. Elias sighed dramatically. The one true treasure of humanity, and nobody here has heard of it. Figures. All right, new mission. Survive the coming war, then introduce popcorn diplomacy to the galaxy. That's how we'll really win hearts and minds. For the first time since this began, laughter, human and alien, echoed together in the chamber. And beneath the humor, Elias knew they were standing on the edge of something enormous, something that would change everything. Still, he thought, popcorn would help. The alarms shook the corridors as Elias strapped himself into the crash couch, the ship vibrating under weapons fire. Outside the viewport, human and Illyrian ships fought side by side, their beams carving through the enemy's black-armored armada. Explosions rippled across the void like silent fireworks. He muttered to himself, well, this is it. The grand finale. The part where the plucky captain either becomes a legend or a smear on the viewport. Odds are 50-50, give or take. Selhara stood near him, unshaken, her daughter tucked safely in the corner. She fixed Elias with that unreadable stare. You should not be here. He barked a laugh. Lady, I've been hearing that my whole career. If I had a credit for every time someone said it, I'd be drinking cocktails on a beach planet right now instead of fighting interstellar death machines. The girl piped up in her melodic voice, words Elias couldn't understand but tone clear enough. She pointed at him, then gave a determined nod. Selhara translated softly. She says you are part of this family now. Elias blinked. Family? Great. I never even passed Thanksgiving with my real one without causing an incident. Guess I'll just have to learn better table manners. The ship shuddered as a blast tore past. The tactical display lit up with red enemy reinforcements, more than either fleet could hold. Human dreadnoughts faltered, Illyrian cruisers strained. The alliance was about to crack before it truly began. Elias clenched his fists. "All right, think, what would a reckless idiot do right now?" He grinned. "Oh wait, that's me." He jumped from the couch, ignoring Selhara's protest, and slammed his palm on the control interface. The ship's living systems reacted, shifting under his touch. He barked into the comm, "This is Captain Elias Vey, and I've got a stupid idea," which naturally means it might work. Caros's furious voice answered, "Vey, if you do something insane, I'll—" Yeah, court-martial me later. For now, just keep shooting." He redirected the Illyrian ship straight into the densest part of the enemy formation, weaving through fire with impossible precision, as the vessel responded like it could read his intent. "You weren't kidding about this ship being alive," he muttered. "Feels like I'm dancing with it. Worst dance partner ever, by the way, keeps stepping on my nerves." The maneuver split the enemy lines, and suddenly the combined fleets had an opening. Human dreadnoughts roared forward, Illyrian cruisers unleashed radiant energy blasts, and the tide shifted. Enemy ships burst apart in cascades.